Hello everyone, it's Jen. I'm here with a collaboration project for Kindred Stamps and Thermo. Today I'm going to be using the Detention Friends stamp set by Kindred Stamps, which is totally adorable. All these little high school friends. There's some great sentiments in here. I'm also going to be using a couple products from Thermo. I'm using the Decofoil Buddy here. And then I'm also using the Decofoil Metallix in Glazed Pewter. So I'm going to be making my own metallic paper today using the Metallix paste here from Thermo. I am using a piece of 110-pound cardstock, and I just have some computer paper behind me to protect my work surface. And I'm just taking some of the paste here with my palette knife and kind of placing it onto my cardstock. Then I'm using this little stencil pal to thin out the paste to give me that metallic look. It did take a little bit of time to make sure that I got this consistent with the thickness I was going for, and to smooth it out as much as possible, but I eventually did get this piece of paper covered, and I'm going to let it dry for quite a while. I just cleaned up the little stencil pal here with a baby wipe as well as my palette knife, so that cleaned up really easily. I'm just pulling it off of that paper and putting it on a new one so it doesn't dry to that piece of paper that I was using to protect my surface. So to start the card, I'm going to work on my background. I'm going to create some lockers. So I wanted it to look like these little friends were standing inside a bunch of lockers. Now, I'm no artist when it comes to drawing, so I'm simply using a ruler here and I'm drawing out the lockers. Now you'll notice they're a little bit to the left as I draw this, but that's okay because I am going to cut down this panel for my card base so you can see that metallic paper shining from behind. So I'm just trying to evenly space out these lockers here. I want 4 of them. First using my pencil in case I need to correct anything, and then I'm using my Memento Tuxedo black marker here to go over the lines to create my lockers. So this is an alcohol friendly marker. You can use any one that you have in your stash if you're going to be using some alcohol markers to color, which I am going to be doing for the lockers. Once I get the outline of the lockers done, I'm going to go in and add a little bit of detail. I'm going to add a line straight across the top, freehand some handles here. Most of this is actually going to get covered up by the characters because there was so many of them, but I did want to have them in there in case they were peeking out from behind. I'm going to add some air vents here to the top of the lockers, so I'm adding 3 rows in the bottom and 2 little rows of those air vents at the top. Now you'll notice here I'm not completely straight. The little vent lines are not equal in terms of length, but that's okay. This is not the focus of my card. So I just want to give the illusion of the lockers, and I actually did 4 rows of the air vents on the bottom. I'm going to draw in the handles now for the lockers, freehand again with my marker, and then I'm going to go ahead and erase all of my pencil lines. You want to make sure you erase your pencil lines before you start coloring. I just went ahead and saturated the locker. I'm just going to color the first locker with you so you can see how I colored that up. So I saturated the paper with my C3. Now I'm going in with the C5 marker, and I'm going to darken up those edges to either side. I'm also going to add the darker markers to the air vents, and then I'm going to bring in my C7 here. This is the darkest marker that I'm going to be using for the lockers. I want these to look almost metallic so that it picks up on the metallic paper that I created, which will be the bottom of my card, and you can see here I was turning my paper and knocked my marker caps over. I had a good laugh when I did that. Nothing like bloopers when you're filming. So just going over that C5 with my C7, now I'm bringing in that C5 again, and I'm going to pull that C7 out to the middle of the locker. Sped this up quite a bit, but I did want you to have a sense of how I colored this. Once I do that, I'm going to go over with the C3 marker and continue to blend that out. Now, I find that when you're doing a larger image in the C's, they can be a little bit tricky to blend. So I am going to go over this a couple times just to make sure I get a smooth blend. So here you can see I'm pulling the C5 back in to darken that up a little bit. That's the great thing about copic markers, is you can continue to go over top because they are transparent. So finishing up with the C3, and then I'm going to show you all of the lockers colored. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect because it is going to be in the background and most of it gets covered up. So there are 5 characters that will be on this card. I'm going to show you how I colored the 2 main little characters here. So I'm going to use E13 as my darkest for the skin tone. My darkest midtone is going to be E11. My lightest midtone is E00. Sorry, my lightest marker is E00. I'm only doing a 3 color blend. I threw myself off there with having the R20, which I will use for her cheeks. So lay down the E13 under her hairline and by her ears, under her neck, and where her arms meet her shirt. And there's a little bit of skin showing underneath her skirt as well. Just going to blend out her cheeks, and I colored his skin tone up the exact same way. Now I'm going to do her hair as a redhead, so I'm using the Y35 as my lightest, which is actually a yellow. Then I'm going to come in with an E09, which is a dark reddish brown color. Just mapping my shading here, I'm going to have the darkest shades around each piece of her hair where it would cast a shadow behind the section of hair. I'm going to add some darker to the back of her hair and around the sides by her ears. Now I'm coming in with the YR18, I believe, and I'm going to pull that color out a little bit more, and then I will use the YR68 and come back in with the Y35. So this is one of the first times I've done red hair with this color combination, so I was a little nervous and I was taking my time here. I have sped this up, but I'm not too worried because I know that if I don't get it right on the first go, I can always come back and pull out more of the color that I actually want to see. At this point, she's looking a little yellowy orange. I'm just going to wait here once I get that yellow down, and then I'm going to decide that I want to bring in a lot more of that E09. This is what's really going to make her look like a redhead. So like I said, the first time I just didn't want to go too heavy-handed, but once I saw it complete, I knew where I wanted to pull certain colors into the image more. So I'm going to be a lot more generous with the mid-tone, the darkest mid-tone here. And again, pulling that out, I'm only going to leave the tiniest bit for that highlight color, which is the Y35, covering up most of her hair with the orange colors. Once I get this complete, I do like the way it turned out. I think she looks really cute. Finishing up with the hair, and then I will move on here to coloring his hair. And I want to give him a dark brown hair color. So I'm using E49, E27, E57, and E35 for this coloring combination. With the hair on these characters, because they're more cartoon-like, I'm not worried about doing flicking. I actually want more of a smooth blend for the look that I'm going for. So you saw there I mapped out where I wanted my darkest areas with the E35, which is actually my lightest color. Then I went in with the E49, and now I am moving through those colors, blending them out as I go. Again, once I get that first layer down, I can see if I got it to my liking, and then I can always go back over and pull in some additional colors if it's not quite the way I want it. So you can see me here jumping back and forth through the various colors. I'm going to add a little red to his tongue, and then I'm going to go ahead and I want to do her skirt in a maroon color. So I'm going to bring in a brown color, which is the E18 for my darkest marker. Then I'm going to use R89 and R39 as my midtones, and to finish off I'm going to leave the tiniest bit of highlight with the R29. Some of these areas are quite tiny for a 4-color blend, but I was being stubborn because I really wanted to get that maroon look. For her shirt, I'm going to color it in pink. I'm using my favorite pink combination of R85, R83, and R81. Going to color that up pretty quickly, just mapping out the darkest areas by her arms and under the neckline. I'm also going to color her little earrings in pink as well, and then I'm going to move on to her boots and her belt, which I want to look like brown leather. So for that color combination, I'm using E29 as my darkest, E59 as my midtone, and then E57 as the lightest. And these areas are really tiny, so a little bit challenging to get some shading, but I think I managed to do it. So for our little guy here, our popular jock, I'm doing his little school-themed jacket with some gray arms, and then I'm going to do the body of his jacket in a bright blue. But right now I'm just doing the gray areas, and I'm also going to do his shoes like white running shoes, and his t-shirt as white as well. So I'm just using the lightest colors for that. I'm going to bring a little red in for the patch on his arm. And then I'm going to work on his jeans. So the color combination I'm using for the jeans is B97, B95, and B93. I am going to pull in the B91. It just wasn't blending as well as I wanted it to. So I did bring in that 4th marker. And I'm going to just add a little bit more shading here, a little bit more of the darker colors, and then blending that back out. So for the body of his jacket, the bright blue colors, I'm using B06 as my darkest, B04 as my darkest midtone, B02 as my lightest midtone, and then B00 as my lightest highlight color. So just working through those colors as I color the image. Blending that out with the B00, and then that is complete. Going to fussy cut out these images. I'm going to leave a little bit of a white border. So when I fussy cut, I like to trim around the images first, getting rid of most of the paper so I can easily move the paper around my scissors. I'm not going to show you the whole thing here, but just wanted to show you how I fussy cut in case you are newer to card making. So here's a look at all the characters colored and cut out. I did use my black and white gel pens to add some details. I think they look super cute. Here's my metallic paper dried. I did let it dry for a couple of hours, maybe not that long. I cut it out with a stitched rectangle die and then added some double-sided adhesive to the back. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down to my card base. Just trim off my card here a little bit where the card base is overhanging my card panel. So super fun, shiny metallic paper using the Thermo Decofoil Metallix. I'm going to trim down my focal panel here with a smaller stitched rectangle die. And again, I used some double-sided tape because I wanted to make sure that it would adhere down to that paste. So I'm going to have a white border around the lockers. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to adhere on my little characters here. So they're all hanging around their lockers, maybe at lunch or after school or after detention on the weekend. I thought this card would be super fun for a teen or a younger person to give to a close friend on the last day of school. So I'm just using my liquid glue here to get all these little people in place. It was kind of hard to fit them all on, but I was absolutely determined to get them all on the front of the card. I'm adhering all of them down with liquid adhesive. I'm not popping any of them up on foam tape, just to have a nice, clean, and simple look here. Once I get that done, I'm going to work on the sentiment. I went ahead and I stamped that out. I used the sentiment, "I could never forget about you." I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down as well. And then I had a little bit of this metallic paper that I made left over, so I just grabbed some heart dies and die cut out some hearts and thought I would place a few of those onto the card as well as a final touch. So that is my card for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I know it was rather long. I really had fun making my own metallic paper. So thank you Thermo and Kindred Stamps for allowing me to do this collaboration project. Hope you guys had a fantastic day, and I will see you really soon in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye.